independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It is getting uglier and uglier. They're ramping up the shelling. Kharkiv is getting shelled as we speak. Kyiv is getting shelled as we speak. And it is going to get uglier and uglier and uglier in the coming days and potentially the coming weeks. That's the reality of it. It is. Today, some EU leaders are doing the unthinkable.
The leaders of Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia are set to travel to Kyiv Tuesday on a European Union mission to show support for the country. Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala writing in a tweet, quote, "The aim of the visit is to express the European Union's unequivocal support for Ukraine and its freedom and independence," end quote.
Yep. Think about that for a second. They're taking a train. You got the Czech Prime Minister, Slovenian Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister of Poland, and the Prime Minister of Poland taking a train, letting the world know this is what we're doing. We're coming here to show support. All the while that goes on, it is, yes, getting ugly.
More strikes on Kyiv. 3 areas hit, including this 15-story apartment block. At least 2 people reportedly killed as rescuers search for residents reportedly trapped under the rubble. With Russian forces trying to bear down on the nation's capital, the aerial bombardment is increasing.
Yeah. And people keep asking the question over and 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 over. What the hell is the end game in this? Yesterday, Jen Psaki was hit over and over with this about the end game.
I'm trying to understand where your end game in Ukraine. You are not going there. You are not sending troops there. There will be no flight zone. Assessment to say that you are pushing these guys to commit suicide, knowing that Russia has a superpower and eventually will capture the main cities, Kyiv. And what's the end game?
Well, the end game is really a question for President Putin. We have completely crushed his economy, provided military assistance, humanitarian assistance to the Ukrainians, enabling them to fight back for far longer. He has determined what the path forward looks like for him.
And Mike Lyons, who joined us yesterday, said it over and over again. The end game is whatever Putin decides the end game is at this point in time. That's the end game. He decides where the off-ramp is. But he's holding the world hostage. He's holding himself hostage. He's holding his people hostage. The Chinese are not thrilled by what's going on. We met for 7 hours yesterday with the Chinese, and they're like, Wang Yi, who's their foreign secretary, basically said he's not thrilled by what's going on, and he fears that sanctions will come to China if China helps. Now, China's, remember the whole thing, right before the Olympics, they get together and they hold hands, they share a Coca-Cola, and they sing songs about how they are now intertwined together. Here's the reality of it. You bring nothing to China comparatively to what they bring to you. That's the relationship that they have. You're the moneymaker. You are the star. You are everything, and you need them. Oh, sure, your oil is a help, but the reality is they go to Venezuela and other places, and they're going to hold you over a barrel when it comes to prices for oil because they know you're desperate. They know you're desperate. You ever bought something from somebody who's desperate? I mean, you're like, well, I just not. Yeah, you know what it is. You get a great deal, right? It is. It is. You're getting a great deal. Do you remember when the pandemic hit originally and people started selling stuff? They didn't know where this thing was going to go. And me, trading my reptiles and doing stuff. I would see people and they were selling stuff that I know they paid a ton of money for virtually nothing. And it was sad because they were desperate. They were desperate. So You're not doing anything for them. China is, they've already told their banks, look, the Americans put the sanctions on, the West has done that, kind of follow what they say. Their help may actually come from India, but India is going to hold their feet over the fire too. At the end of all of this, Putin is going to decide how he wants to get off this insane ride that he's put the world on. Mike Lyons has said over and over again, look at Odessa. Odessa's not being attacked for one simple reason. It is the final off-ramp for him when it comes to the Ukraine. Odessa is the last port city. You'd have to leave them with a port. And there are other things that they could do. And that's the negotiations that are going on as we speak.
We don't know what the Russians have asked for, but we do know that Zelensky has changed his position a couple times. We know that he's backed off from saying that they want to join NATO. We know that he's said we will stop flirting with the EU. Potentially they would give up the Donbass and Crimea. If all these things come to pass, that's sort of what the Russians agreed to with Georgia in 2008. Whether it's enough for Putin now is another question.
Yeah. So you've gone in, you've wrecked your country. You guys are 24 hours away from defaulting on $150 billion because the ruble's worth nothing. You can't open your stock market. There's a poor fat guy out there chained himself to McDonald's yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. He was a large fellow, arguably the largest in all of Russia. Chained himself to a McDonald's because he thought this mix sucks. People are fleeing you when it comes to your business side of things. So if your off-ramp is, we'll keep Donbass, we'll keep these ports here, and we'll just absorb these things into Mother Russia, Ukraine, don't flirt with NATO, don't flirt with the West like you have been, and let's be done with this. And then when he dies, if you want to be part of EU and you want to be part of NATO, there's an opportunity there. But until then, he's going to have to understand the more that he fights, the worse it's going to get for him. The more that he fights, the worse. There is no, in any of this, there is no he gets to go to Davos anymore. There is no he and his buddies get to, go to the Maldives for the weekend and get welcomed to the G7, the G8, the G. There is none of that at this point in time. That is done. That is done. What you have now is how do you get off this and still maintain a situation where you can stay at home, go to 4 or 5 nations that don't hate you, maybe some countries in Africa as well, but otherwise be shunned from the world. And the world's not blowed up. How's that work? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. All the while that's going on, the White House, seeing that this is going to kick them in the butt in the coming months, especially when it comes to, yes, we're talking about midterms. You've had to change direction. And luckily, Putin's giving you that opportunity to change direction.
Make no mistake, the current spike in gas prices is largely the fault of Vladimir Putin. It has nothing to do with the American Rescue Plan.
Okay. Gas, when you took over, Biden, $2.59. It had risen to $3.38 by August. In October, it was a little bit higher. November, a little bit higher. Now, through the roof. The last 2 weeks, absolutely. You want to blame what's going on over there and the disruption of oil and zero problems with that. That's actually has a true effect. Before that rise, I don't remember. I'm going to go November. No, they didn't invade in November. December, no invasion there. January, no invasion there. No invasion in any of those places at that time. So that is a lie. But it's a perfect opportunity for you to say, hey, let's rebrand this as Putin's price hikes. The American people understand that. They get it. There'll be people out there talking about it. There'll be people out there spinning it. But at the end of the day, you were going to struggle in the midterms anyways, even if you were semi-coherent and popular. You were neither of those. And the economy is struggling. Inflation, Psaki comes out, she's like, oh, I expect to start going down by the end of the year, right? You got Janet Yellen, who looks like she's a bad person, like one of the baddies from Star Wars. My young Luke. That's what she came out and said, it's going to be uncomfortable for at least a year or so, if not longer. Can't blame it all on Putin. The reality is things that you have done have led us to a situation where it's uncomfortable for everybody. And you're able to withstand that at this moment in time because you have people who see what's happening in the Ukraine, feel like things are a lot better here, which they are, and they're willing to sacrifice a little bit. But as we all know, we're Americans, and we sacrifice till it's super uncomfortable, and then we don't want to anymore. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. A lot of stuff still to squeeze in today. Zelensky going to address Congress tomorrow. Touch a little bit about that. Kanye and the whole Pete thing, right? Like, it's getting weird, and Kanye sends out this message yesterday that's like, oh my God, that is nuts. What's going on over there? Plus coronavirus, we're going to have another spike. A lot of stuff to get today. We're going to try to squeeze it all in, kids, and a vice principal who read a book to kids, and because of that, he was fired. No, it wasn't Hollywood Wives. That would be hilarious, though, wouldn't it have? Calibrate. You want to lose weight? Get on with Calibrate. What is Calibrate? Well, first and foremost, let's take a deep breath and realize so much of what goes on in the weight loss world is extreme insanity that doesn't work. It's not sustainable. And a lot of times what happens is you think, man, I do everything right, and it's just not working. I get to a little bit of a level, and then everything stops. It's because your metabolism needs to be reset. That's where Calibrate comes in. FDA-approved medication, one-on-one doctor visits, in-app coaching, small lifestyle changes, and you see huge difference. On average, Calibrate's earliest members lost over 15% of their body weight. And when you go back and look at some of the people that have been on this program since the beginning, they've lost 20, 30, 40% of their body weight. And it's not about making massive changes. It's sustainable life changes with FDA-approved medication. Go to joincalibrate.com. Use the promo code CHAD. Get $50 off your one-year metabolic reset. You will not be disappointed. It fits into anybody's schedule. It's easy. JoinCalibrate.com. Use the promo code CHAD to save $50. JoinCalibrate.com. Promo code CHAD. Chad Benson Show.
Irreverent? Yeah. So what? It's the Chad Benson Show.
When it came out, it was Corona, right? Corona. Corona is 6 letters. When you say A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and you put Corona lined out at 66. So that's 666. But we found that out. So they changed it to COVID-19, which is C, Ovid. Look it up. Ovid means sheep. 19, military code for surrender. C, sheep, surrender. That's no joke.
That's no joke. That's no joke. Who are these people? I'm serious. Like, Mike, how do they, by the way, 19 in military code is armor. But for those of you not keeping score, it doesn't matter though. Because none of it matters because you can't reason with crazy. Have you ever, like, honestly, the way I look at some of these people is if you go down the street and there's a homeless person who's, got one shoe on and is talking to a pigeon, you're not reasoning with that person. The difference between these two people is though that person chose drugs, this person chose to go down a rabbit hole of insanity that is the drug of QAnon and whatnot. You can't reason with that. You can't. It's not possible. It isn't. Like drugs, they have to be the one that come out of it and decide, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. That's not happening at this moment in time. It's just not. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. New Wall Street Journal poll. Half of Americans doubt Biden will run in 2024. That's 52% of Americans don't think Biden will run for re-election in 2 years, while 29% do expect to pursue a second term. 19% are undecided at this time. Check this out. Democrats, 41% say they think Biden will run again. 32% say they didn't think he would. 26%, though, are unsure. That's a big, you've got 26% of people that think, I don't know if he will run. And how many of those people are also like, I don't know if he should run? Because that's the other side of it. Thinking he will run and thinking he should run are two separate things. What would they do? I don't know what they would do. The Democrats are stuck between a rock and a hard place. If he's reelected, he'd be 82 years old when he's sworn in for a second term. Think about that for a second. 82, nearly a decade older than Ronald Reagan when he started his second term at 73. Reagan was 69 when he became the oldest president of the United States. Donald Trump then jumped that to 70. That's 82 years old when he's sworn in. He'd be 86. That's man. Yeah, when you sit there and you think about that, you're like, okay, hold on a second. You see the 8, and it changes. I think it changes a lot. Like the 7, you go, well, he's 70, 71, still in pretty good shape. You look at somebody and think, okay, that person. But when you look at the 8, you're like, it changes everything. Man, 82, 86 would be his last year. That's nuts. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Before we were interrupted, we were talking about the fact, New Wall Street Journal poll says that more than half of America doesn't think Biden will run for re-election based on the age, the toll it's taking on him as president. He would be 82 if he won a second term sworn in. And as I point out to the guys, think about this. Coronavirus allowed him to not have to campaign. He didn't have to be on the road every day. He didn't have to be, from place to place to place to place while still holding the job as well. So he didn't have to do any of that. He got to essentially set Hillary was out there, whether you liked her or not. Trump is always doing something, whether you like him or not. Biden didn't. So to think for a moment that Biden is going to be out there on a daily basis campaigning, he didn't have to last time. He got cover for everything, and the media's like, well, we can't have this because there could be people out there who could spread the coronavirus. It's nuts. It is. It's not happening, people. It's just not. I think most people thought, he'd run the first time, would be a bridge, and then the bridge they thought would be a good idea would be the vice president, and now they're just thinking to themselves, sweet God, no.
So I will say what I know we all say, and I will say over and over again.
Jeez.
The United States stands firmly with the Ukrainian people in defense of the NATO alliance.
They're not NATO, by the way, for those of you not keeping sure. She is a hot mess. And they have to know that, right? Like do you think that she walks off and she's like, I think I did great. I don't really, I don't know what you guys thought, but I thought I knocked it out the park. I mean, I think, that was one of my best sets ever.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
Oh, my goodness. What will happen in the Ukraine? More and more I hear people, it's funny, the whole no-fly thing. Enough of that. Like, let's put that away. That's not happening. They've got limited access to pilots and airplanes. What we need is the same thing we've been telling Taiwan for years. Stop buying shiny things and start buying things that work. And Taiwan's like, what are you guys talking about? You guys are buying things that you don't need. If something was to happen here and they were to invade you, you need to make it hell on earth for them. And you're not going to do it with shiny things. You're going to do it with nasty, horrible things. Finally, people are saying, yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's exactly what it is. We need to get them stuff into their hands that are going to repel, that is going to make their lives miserable and hell on earth. It's not about getting them a MiG from the 70s, right? Hey, would you guys like a Pinto that can fly? No. And the other side of things, too, they don't have the pilot and the pilots they need. You ask the military, what's tougher, pilots or planes? Pilots. Finding pilots and creating pilots, building pilots is way tougher than the airplanes themselves. But now it's like this no-fly zone is everywhere.
Like we've strengthened our economic sanctions. Then people were saying, okay, no oil. We've done that. The final step, in my view, and we've talked about it on the show, is the no-fly zone. You have someone like Putin that is saying, if you shoot my planes down during my war, I will consider that an act of war. Mm-hmm. We're already in a war with him. And then where do we go?
No, we're not in a war with him
we don't.
yet.
I mean, well, he's already in a war.
We don't want World War III in this world. This is a country that has nuclear weapons. We've been under this gun of nuclear weapons since I'm a child.
But when does he stop, Joy? When does he stop?
You cannot screw around with a crazy person who has nukes.
Yeah. There is an off-ramp still. We talked about it earlier. There is an off-ramp if he wants it.
We don't know what the Russians have asked for, but we do know that Zelensky has changed his position a couple times. We know that he's backed off from saying that they want to join NATO. We know that he's said we will stop flirting with the EU. Potentially, they would give up the Donbass and Crimea. If all these things come to pass, that's sort of what the Russians agreed to with Georgia in 2008. Whether it's enough for Putin now is another question.
Yeah. He's not dictating anything. This is his war. We're supplying the necessary lethal aid that we can to them, along with several other nations, so they can fight back against invaders in their country. That's as far as we need to take it. Could it get uglier? Yes. Could there be chemical weapons? Yes. Even Mike Lyon said at some point, if this thing it continues to go on and slogs and lags another 6-8 months, could he get frustrated and potentially do something ridiculous like a small tactical nuke? It's weird to say small, but based on the sizes of nukes that everybody has, something that would kill 30, 40, 50,000 is much different than something would kill 5 million. And everybody wants to know, where's the line? Where's the line? The line is any NATO country. That's the line. At this point, there's nothing else. We can render aid financially. We can continue to send all the necessary weapons that we can get to them. But that's it. The thought of us getting dragged into this so he could strengthen himself at home and say, look, it is the West attacking us. is foolish. Now, if he crosses a line, that line being a NATO country, then that will have to be addressed. But at this point, there's not a lot. Because God knows what he would do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Meanwhile, back at home, we're worried about serious things. How about this, right? We have this insanity of we want to cancel stuff. We want to go out there and we're banning books and certain things. We're banning people from Twitter. It's nuts. This is insane. A principal in Mississippi, MISSISSIPPI. He read a book on Zoom to second graders.
In his 2 decades as an educator, Toby Price says he never would have believed he'd be terminated from reading a picture book that he chose for a class of second graders.
I was asked to schedule a Zoom where we were going to have a guest reader with the second graders, so I was told to go ahead and read.
The controversy surrounding this book called I Need a New Butt, a seemingly silly and funny book, according to Price.
It's like any kid, his imagination is running wild about what he's got to do to fix what he's done.
Yeah. It's a funny book. It is. We read it. So I need a new butt, right? It's not like Boogie in Your Butt from Eddie Murphy. It's the greatest song of all time. Phil, put a telephone in your butt. Put a dinosaur bone in your butt. Boogie in your butt. That was actually on an album. Just to let you guys know that. Somebody went in, wrote a song, said, hey, what can we put in our butts? This is about a kid who finds a crack in his butt. See where we're going with this?
Joel Dillard is representing the former Hines County assistant principal.
The book is available on Hines County's own ebook program for students.
I was very upset. I'm not going to lie. I did what I could to dry my face up.
Yeah. So this guy is suspended, right? So you get this vice principal who wasn't supposed to read, but then said, nobody's here, so I'm going to go and read. Next thing you know, he's in trouble. The thing that's amazing about this is nobody complained. Nobody did. It was a preemptive, somebody's going to be upset, so we should fire you now. Somebody's going to be upset, and so we should just get rid of you altogether because it's the smart, best thing to do in fearing a backlash of parents that will be mad over this.
Today's story is just seriously silly. There's not much else I can say about it. Without further ado, we're reading I Need a New Butt. What? Mine's got a crack. See, in the mirror, there's a crack in the back. Oh, goodness. Did I do it on the slide? Or on the banister inside? Woo! Sliding down the banister. Or with the fart.
Oh, my God. That is Dawn McMillan. That's her book. I Need a New Butt. But it goes back to that insanity of the preemptive, let's get rid of this guy because he obviously did something that while it's on our website, he shouldn't have done because a parent might complain. Even though no parents complained, we've got to let you go because, well, nuts. I can't even begin to tell you how insane that is. And if you complain, right, if you have a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old, and I've read this book, it's funny, it's silly, it's stupid. There's also a book out there that's very popular called Anyone? Everybody Poops. Yeah. Enough. I don't know who you think you're protecting, but it's ridiculous. And the fact that you would preemptively nuke somebody based on the fact that you think someone might complain, whatever happened to, hey, these people are upset about something. What are you upset about? Well, this guy read a story called I Need a New Butt. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's funny. It's a kid's book. Well, there was a picture in there of what? Of seeing a kid's butt crack, right? That's totally cartoonish. Yeah, and he thinks it's broken? Yeah. That's what? Tell me how your kid is scarred for life. Tell me. Whatever happened to just engaging somebody and saying, we're not going to get rid of them because it's a kid's book, and if you're offended by that, then maybe your kid needs to go to another school. But instead, it's always like, we got to get rid of that person. Got to fire him. Who complained? Nobody, but there may be one. Dumbasses. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Boogie in your butt, it's a boogie in your butt. That song's going to be in my head all day. Car Shield, 24/7 roadside assistance. Rental car for free while your car's in the shops. The best thing around. You can do for yourself, for your pocketbook, for your car. In case something goes sideways, check engine light comes on. You're like, oh, my God, what am I going to do? Oh, wait, I got Car Shield. I'm totally fine. Right? Pick up the phone, call Car Shield, tell them what happens. Boom. Out they come. Tow it to the place that you want them to have it towed. They get them paid directly. They handle the paperwork. You pay a small deductible. That's it. Simple and easy. They got plans to fit anybody's budget, and over 1 million drivers have been helped by Car Shield, America's #1 auto protection company. Here's the other thing. You lock in the rate for life. So you sign up with them today, that's your rate. If you keep for 100 years, that's your rate. Go to carshield.com/Benson right now. Save 10%. Or call 800-391-8888. You save 10%. Make sure you use promo code Benson. carshield.com/Benson. Or call 800-391-8888 to save 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Podcasts are American as hot dogs, apple pie, football, and sushi.
Oh my goodness. No.
Okay, maybe not sushi. Next time you have a craving for something sweet and tangy, download a Chad Benson Show podcast.
Boy, that is good. It's different because you get a little bit of saltiness. It's so good because it's sweet and salty at the same time.
Get a taste on iTunes, iHeart, or Spotify and binge to your ears' content.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Oh, my God. As Eddie Murphy did that for real. Put a light in your butt. Said make it bright in your butt. Oh, if you missed any of that, we were talking about the principal that got fired, vice principal, for reading I Need a New Butt, a kid's book about a kid who goes looking for a new butt because he has a crack in his. And he was fired for that. And I'm like, Eddie Murphy did a song about butts. Oh, my God. That is crazy. That is hilarious. Oh, speaking of crazy and music, she said thanks, but no thanks.
Dolly Parton says she's not rock and roll enough for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's a nominee for this year's class, an honor many think is long overdue, but not Parton. In a message on social media, she says she's flattered and grateful for the nomination, but doesn't think she's earned it, so she's respectfully bowing out. She says she hopes to be considered again if she's ever worthy, and the nomination has actually inspired her to put out a rock album. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has a long history of inducting artists who are not straight-up rock, including country stars Hank Williams and Johnny Cash.
Yeah, among others, right? Like, there's a plenty of people that are in there that you wouldn't call, quote-unquote, rock, because it's the Music Hall of Fame. That's all it is. It's the Music Hall of Fame. It's not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, right? You've got A Tribe Called Quest, right? You've got Kraftwerk. You've got all of these. It's not rock. It's we just consider everything rock and roll when really it's just music now. And she had hits that were on what we would consider back in the day. They would call it top 40, contemporary hit music kind of thing. I had zero problems with her going in there. None. She should be in there. I'm surprised she's not, because 9 to 5 was massive. Jolene is massive. I saw her perform like 3 years ago before the pandemic hit. She was at one of the big festivals in, I think it was Scotland. There's 100,000 people there. and you've got like, MGMT and Swedish House Mafia's back together. It's like a Coachella-like thing, right? All of these. And the place went nuts when she comes on stage and she starts doing Jolene, and you have people that are 65 singing it, and you have people that are 15 singing it. She's transcended, right? So plus she's beloved. She's beloved. Zero problems with it. Should have stayed. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Goodness me. A lot of you are tweeting and texting in about the insanity of whether or not Biden will run. New Wall Street Journal poll says Biden shouldn't run for another term. He'd be 82 if sworn in. One person says, this is sad. We look so weak right now. I was telling the guys, I think we took my great-grandmother's keys away when she was like 76. You know what we didn't do? We didn't turn a country over to her. Just saying. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
36-hour curfew. That's what Zelensky has told his people in Kyiv. Get ready for the bombardment to come. It's continuing to go on, and it's not getting better. Mariupol is still getting hammered.
Images released by the Ukrainian military from the port city of Mariupol reveal the true horror of this war. The city's shell-shocked residents have been under siege for over a week, with little to no access to power, heating, food and water. Just last week, an horrific airstrike on a maternity ward and children's hospital in the city. A pregnant woman and her unborn child, rescued from the debris, have now died, according to the local authorities.
And you know how that makes people feel when we see things like that. And then people are like, we need to have a no-fly. No, we don't need to have a no-fly zone. What we need is to just get them everything we can get them to fight back. That's it. There's nothing else we can do. There's not a thing we can do at this moment in time. Where's the red line? Is it nuclear? It's the red line between Russia and a NATO country. That's the red line. That's the red line. Otherwise, going into a situation where if we enforce a no-fly, that means we shoot down Russian airplanes and missiles and potentially have to shoot them down over Russia, brings us into a war with Russia. The two most powerful nations on planet Earth with nuclear weapons pointing at each other. It's not something we need. It's not. I think we remind him all the time. Every time you say you have nuclear weapons, remind you we have nuclear weapons. And based on the stuff we've seen, I have a feeling ours work a little bit better. And what you should worry about, Putin, is the things that you don't know we have. And by the way, that includes some defense stuff that we have that you don't know about. This war ends at this moment in time, and the conflict and invasion, when Putin decides to take an off-ramp or he's overthrown. And they are trying to give him off-ramps. We've had Mike Lyons on several occasions. Military analyst, West Point graduate, been in war. And he says, look, Odessa, that's the key. He's not attacked Odessa, which gives him some off-ramp. And this off-ramp, by the way, isn't an off-ramp to join society again. Isn't it like, shucks, guys, I'm sorry. It's an off-ramp of being captured in your own country and a pariah with your people hungry, your economy in shambles, but you still alive. That's the only off-ramp you have. You're not going to Davos and be welcomed with open arms. None of that stuff is going to happen. It's an off-ramp that avoids a conflict that could be nuclear, and you and your oligarch buddies get to stay alive. That's it. That is your off-ramp. They're negotiating, and again, these negotiations, take it with a grain of salt, because here's the reality of them. When you've got the, Larionov, or I think he was a hockey player, the foreign minister of Russia saying, well, they attacked us. When that's who you're negotiating with, the king propagandist, like Baghdad Bob, remember him? It's like his country's on fire, and he's like, I think we're doing really good. That's what I'm being told. This is, you got to take whatever they say with a grain of salt.
We don't know what the Russians have asked for, but we do know that Zelensky has changed his position a couple times. We know that he's backed off from saying that they want to join NATO. We know that he's said we will stop flirting with the EU. Potentially they would give up the Donbass and Crimea. If all these things come to pass, that's sort of what the Russians agreed to with Georgia in 2008. Whether it's enough for Putin now is another question.
Yeah, so he gets to keep all that land, absorbs it into Mother Russia. Ukraine keeps the rest. And they still have a port. Is that the best that may come out of this? I think that's the best that we have left as far as getting out of this without any more bloodshed. The reality is he's going to continue to push forward. He's going to continue to move forward. He's going to continue to attack until two things. One, he realizes I got to get more troops there. And China's already said they're not going to help us. Oh, they say, we're going to help you. But China behind the scenes, Wang Yi, who's their foreign minister, has kind of said, we don't really want to get stuck with sanctions. We don't want that. We're intertwined with China. And the reality is if we were to pull ourselves apart, while it would be painful for all of us, it would be especially painful for China. They need us more than we need them. That's the reality of this. And we've already told them, if you get involved in this, if you do more, then offer hey guys, we're with you, then we're going to come and start sanctioning you. But what about us? What about us?
I can see why America doesn't want Russia teaming up with China. That would be an unstoppable power couple. Getting tough on Russia is one thing. How does America plan to turn the screws on China? Hey, you better do what we say, or we won't let you sell us literally everything we need to survive anymore because we haven't made anything ourselves in 30 years. I bet America would sacrifice 3 or 4 states just to keep getting new iPhones.
Just because we have it doesn't mean we can't. That's the thing that people have to remember. They need us. They need our influx of cash. Remember who most of the world would look at and say, well, we're going to go with the Americans, right? Some might not. Some will try to play neutral, but at the end of the day, by the way, it's not just us. The European nations as well have said to China, don't get involved in this, right? I know you guys are, and they're not an unstoppable power couple. I don't know who thinks that. Russia is weak. Their economy sucked before we wandered, we're dragged back into this Cold War scenario. I mean, they were like, they were at best Brazil. So they're not some massive thing. And if you want to deal with them, knock yourself out, China. Trade with them is about $200 billion a year. Trade with the EU and the United States is $1.4 trillion, but you have a good time. China enjoys the fact that it pisses us off. China enjoys the fact that it takes our eyes off the battle that we have with them. But at the end of the day, they're not going to ruin their world to protect Russia. Isn't happening. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from each and every one of you. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but gas prices...
From sticker shock at the grocery store to stunning numbers at the gas pump, Americans are feeling the pain of surging fuel prices and inflation.
Really crazy. It's rising overnight.
The national average hitting another record high at more than $4.30 a gallon nationwide, up 84 cents from a month ago, and $1.47 higher compared to a year ago. $4.73 in Washington State, $4.94 in Nevada, and a whopping $5.74 a gallon in California.
Yeah, and we're feeling this right now based on the fact that, remember, there's a lagging thing. Prices go up, people buy today. What they sell it for in the next week or so will eventually get to the pump. And so you're really paying not for what's happening today, and oil's off today. And part of that has to do with the fact that China is seeing a rise in cases, and they're shutting down a lot of places. And in doing so, and a vast amount of people that actually rely on, oil, gas to get places. This isn't rural parts of the country where 1 billion people live. This is populous areas. And so the demand will go down. That's a helper. That's a helper because of the COVID? Yeah, the way that they're coming after it. So those lockdowns are actually going to free up opportunities to purchase lower. It's great. I don't think that's very nice. No, it's being honest. It's being a little honest there, kids. But we're still feeling it. And we're going to feel it for the foreseeable future, in between $3.50 and $4.50 a gallon. And as far as, Biden is going to continually, he's got the new catchphrase that he thinks is going to help him and the Democrats this midterm.
Make no mistake, the current spike in gas prices is largely the fault of Vladimir Putin. It has nothing to do with the American Rescue Plan.
That's a lie. It has to do with your attack on energy, leaving us vulnerable. Yes. And I tell you, are we energy independent? Yeah. Are we oil independent? No. Two separate things. We don't have enough oil to cover where we need to be covered, where we can export a lot more, but we also consume a ton. Energy independent because we have coal and natural gas and things of that nature. But the reality is oil independent is what we feel on a day-to-day basis at the gas tank. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Little what's trending straight ahead. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com/Chad. Give it to my dogs every single day. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff. It is a supplement. Goes on top of your dog's food, brings your dog's food to life. Told you guys yesterday, go to ruffgreens.com/Chad. You'll see my dog Doodle, who I never for a second thought he was going to live as long as he has. And I thank Rough Greens for it. Right? Sometimes you ask my wife, you might have to blame Rough Greens for it. But it's awesome. He has got tons of energy. His hips don't hurt. He's bouncy. He's happy. It's amazing. And that's what I love that it does for him, especially with his joints. Right now, they want you to try it before you buy it. You cover the cost of shipping, and that's it. If you don't like it, well, then nothing's outside of the cost of shipping. But I think your dogs are going to love it. ruffgreens.com/Chad. Ruffgreens.com/Chad. Or call 833-MY-DOG-77. 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
You stink like fear and white male privilege to me.
I do often out myself verbally as a gender. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm proud to be a gender.
Are you stupid? What? Are you kidding me?
Not a great way to use your white privilege.
Some people get it, some people don't.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? All right, let's talk about what's trending on the old interwebs. Start over in Google. Pi Day was yesterday. 1 million people searching for Pi Day. Freddie Freeman, the baseball star for the Braves, is leaving the Braves. Where will he land? My assumption is Los Angeles, because he's from California, Southern California. So that's where I think he's going to go. Benjamin Hall, Fox News correspondent, injured in the Ukraine invasion. Cameron Smith watched it yesterday. He won the Players' Championship. This Australian guy, 28 years old, has an amazing mullet. Started growing it when the coronavirus hit and told his girlfriend he wasn't going to shave it till he won. Well, he's won several times since, and he's not shaved it. And yesterday, though, was after he won, it was great because his mother and sister were there, and he hasn't seen them because they've been stuck in Australia for 2 years. First chance for him to, show everything around. And by the way, he won $3.5 million. Not a bad day. It's work if you can get it. Dude, that's great. I would love to do that. Except for it wasn't one day's work. I always tell everybody, he won that 5 years ago when he's out by himself practicing at 11:30 at night. That's when you win those things. Head over to Twitter. Check everything out. Obviously, what's going on over there in the Ukraine is dominating Twitter. Colin Kaepernick says he's coming out of retirement. Just kidding. He's not retired. He really wants to pretend to play again. So he's posting pictures of himself throwing the ball with nobody chasing him to high school receivers in hopes that he will have a chance of playing again. You're not being very nice, Chad. Just throwing it out there. John Cleese is trending. We'll talk about that. But let's just say he said something that was hilarious. And I'm going to throw it out there. There's some truth in it, but nobody will talk about it, which will piss people off. Oh, my God, Jen. And soft on Russia. Are we being soft on Russia? That's right. Are we? I don't know. There's what else there is to do at this point. I think there's a couple other things that we can do when it comes to Russia, but not a ton at this point. I mean, we've kind of, we've nuked their economy. We have essentially, they have made themselves a pariah on the world stage. There's just not a lot at this point that we can do. There's a few other small things, but this is what it is. It's going to be a standoff now. It is going to be a standoff, not only in Kyiv, which has now invoked a 36-hour curfew as the bombardments are really coming. They're expecting it to get really nasty in the next 36 to 48 hours as the Ukrainians do everything they can to hold the city. Earlier today, they took another city, and but the Russians they're just breaking everything along the way. And could you imagine if they really, Mike Lyons said it the other day, if they were to try to hold the country, right, and to occupy it, it would be 1 million to 2 million soldiers, and every one of those soldiers is a target. Are you signing up for that? No. Are you going to be conscripted in that? Maybe, except to the point where you're probably like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to take off. I don't want any part of this. 323-538-2423. John Cleese. Oh, you dirty devil. You talk about it straight ahead.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I got a bit confused here. Sorry, I got a bit confused because everyone keeps mentioning the war. So could you... What's the matter?
It's all right.
Is there something wrong?
Will you stop talking about the war?
Me? You started it?
We did not start it.
Yes, you did. You invaded Poland. Yeah.
Oh, I love John Cleese. Of course, we had him on a couple months ago. He's in trouble, but not really the way that you would think he's in trouble. It's so funny. He's got a new show coming out in UK's Channel 4. If you don't know what it is, Channel 4 is kind of like, think of FX and Fox. It's called John Cleese Cancel Me. Well, he was doing a roundtable-like discussion in front of a bunch of people. And why you're not hearing any of this is because when you went in there were no cameras. They took the phone away from you. They took pictures, but no video. Jim Gaffigan, Dulce Sloan, Ricky Velez, and the event was called John Cleese in Conversation. Now, understand this. We live in a time of let's cancel everybody. He's 82. He don't give anything about anything anymore because he grew up in a time where comedy was supposed to challenge, comedy was supposed to push, comedy was supposed to be what comedy used to be. And it's not now. Wokeness is destroying it. It's all about feelings, and he thinks it's a bunch of crap. On top of that, the moderator, Portlandia's executive producer, Dan Pasternak, the mood overall was a love fest, he said. And the 82-year-old Cleese, who earns a reputation in recent years of saying controversial things, which really aren't controversial, people take them as such, when reality is he's poking fun at society and people, and groups of people feel that they are an aggrieved party to whatever's going on, and because of that, they feel that that person should be essentially canceled, fired, whatever it is. So it somehow got onto a joke about Daily Show correspondent Sloan said something about colonization, to which Cleese defensively said, forget the British Empire was basically a political unit of organization for 6,000 years. The British didn't start it. And then she shot back, it's the reason I'm here. I'm not supposed to be here, right? Because she's black. And then somewhere along the line, it got to this point in which Cleese says, people get competitive about the business of being oppressed. Very true. We were oppressed, us, the English, by the Romans for 400 years, from 0 to about 400. Somebody says, well, you're really going back. This is getting uncomfortable, one person says. It's like a Dave Chappelle special. And he goes, I don't want to have a struggle competition, Sloan said. And then Cleese said, I want reparations from Italy, which everybody went, ooh. He goes, the Normans came over in 1066. They were horrible people from France. They came, they colonized for 30 years. We need reparations too, I'm afraid. In which case the moderator said, hey, this is why the phones are locked up. Then somebody said, oh, you're going to play the Jew card now, which in turn prompted Cleese to set up, do you know why Jews? And then somebody grabbed his microphone. The entire time, by the way, Gaffigan said nothing. Oh, good God. It's funny, though. Like, we forget about that, right? I watch all these Viking shows, right? Like, because I've been, like, for whatever reason, one day I was sitting at home. I'm like, oh, my wife and I are sitting there. I'm like, we should watch this. I watched one episode of Vikings Valhalla. And she goes, okay, let's watch the rest. So we binged the rest of it. The entire time, none of them are in Norway. They're always going to places like Britain and crushing everything. And living there and enslaving their people. And I'm like, well, it's white on white. But there is one thing that's so true about this is it's the fact that there is an oppression Olympics. I've been oppressed. Right? And it doesn't have to be true. It's like, no, you don't understand. My people, who are you people? Whatever it is, LGBTQ, Hispanic, whatever it is, you find and you're like, oh, I've been oppressed. I've been oppressed. And there is an oppression Olympics. We've talked about it for years. How people, it's the whole, you go back and you start looking at this insane world of people looking always to be injured by something that they feel aggrieved, or better yet, trying to make it about themselves so they can help somebody else they feel was injured in a tweet, a comment, a joke, whatever. And it's nuts. It is. The red line, we talk war, right? It's always a red line. What's the red line? What's the red line? Comedy is about a thin red line that people cross back and forth with to see what they can get away with. I look at George Carlin, I said, that guy would have been canceled 1,000 times. But he's not here, so we can't cancel him. Well, not yet. Somebody might find a way to cancel him. We all know that. It's crazy. I look at see what's going on with Disney, right? So the Disney in Florida is struggling because of the whole scenario of the Don't Say Gay bill, which I have read, of which there's nothing in there that says any of those things. Nothing in there. Really what it's about is age-appropriate material. If there has to be some talk of sex and gender and identity. My son's 11. There's a lot of things 11-year-olds don't need to see. I also don't want him watching people get blown up in Ukraine. Right? There's age appropriateness. But all you took was, hey, we've got an aggrieved group that's going to be oppressed, so let's go out and crush people based on the fact that we've now made this thing the Don't Say Gay bill, which it doesn't, and then we're going to turn people into heroes that don't deserve to be heroes because it'll make us feel good. Even Bill Maher took a swipe at it the other day, which I was surprised the people in the crowd clapped.
Is Florida's Don't Say Gay bill designed to trap Democrats into saying they support teaching young children about sexuality? Is the question, but we can broaden that to anything about that. I mean, I was reading about it today. I mean, if people don't know, this is something DeSantis is about to sign. Yeah. And I guess it's a reaction to Republicans who feel that there's too much talk in lower grades. I think they're talking about kindergarten to third grade. So we're talking about very young kids who, as always with this stuff, there's not like there's no kernel of truth in that maybe kids that young shouldn't be thinking about sex at all. I don't think it's specific. I think don't say. It's not like you're not allowed to literally not say literally gay.
No. And he was right. But it doesn't matter because the narrative got out there. And this is the entire thing about the oppressed Olympics, is what group can feel oppressed about certain things. And it's sad. It is sad. And all that John Cleese, in many ways, through jokes, was pointing out was, you go back in history and you can find some group stood on another group, regardless of color. Some group stood on another group at some point in time. No. Yeah. Sad but true. It's horrible. We live in a modern time, by the way, just to let you know, in our modern time, there's probably more slavery going on now than maybe ever before. Throughout Africa, throughout parts of the Middle East. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. It sucks, but it's real. And I keep saying the World Cup is going to go on later on this year in Qatar. Those stadiums that are built that are beautiful and amazing are built with slave labor. Think about that. People that were promised a job, got there, had everything taken away from them, were forced to work nonstop. Many of them died. Families never heard from them again. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. The Ukraine, the nightmare that is going on there just isn't going on in Ukraine, but going on around parts of Europe, and it's getting uglier. Case in point, what's happening in Poland. And they are absorbing a vast majority of people that are escaping the invasion.
The UN's refugee agency saying the total number of refugees fleeing Ukraine since the war broke out on February 24th now stands at over 2.9 million.
2.9 million. Now, that is Inez Delacorte. Yesterday, I had a chance to talk to her. She was actually in Poland. Earlier in the day, she was speaking to people that, like she said, she goes, we were at a camp that mostly have women and children. She goes, but then a bus pulls up and all these guys get off and they have guns and we hear them and they're speaking English. And they were Brits, Aussies, Americans who were fighting, and they were at the camp that was bombed over the weekend, and they're getting ready to go back out. But she was talking about what's going on over there and the amount of people that they're taking in. And then she threw a shocking number out. It's a bit long, but I want you guys to listen to this.
Just going to run out of space, and there's not going to be room for everyone, especially considering the latest estimate. So it initially was the UN was estimating that there could be anywhere from 4 to 5 million refugees fleeing the war in Ukraine. And now we are hearing at ABC, according to U.S. officials, that it could actually be double that. So anywhere from 8 to 10 million refugees. And again, the vast majority coming into Poland. If 8 million refugees are coming into Poland, that is going to make for a massive humanitarian crisis here in Poland.
Yeah. Did you imagine that? And they've said we can't absorb anymore at this point. Most of these people, by the way, she pointed out to us yesterday, they're not staying in hostels, or a lot of these people are just being taken in by residents in Warsaw and Krakow who are just taking them in on their own dime and allowing them to stay there. And Europe has got to start coming up. And America, we're going to have to start funding some of this more and more to make sure these people have somewhere to go. It's getting uglier. And you got to think about all of the masses that are going to be fleeing Kyiv potentially in the next 48 hours, where you may see 1 million plus, 2 million all at once heading towards the border, as opposed to 20,000 one day, 100,000 over 3 or 4 days, but potentially 7 figures of a massive humanity trying to escape. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. MyPillow right now has a great offer for you. How about the amazing MyPillow towels? Normally $109.99. Now yours for $39. Oh, baby. 60-day money-back guarantee. 1 year. Limited warranty. So this is what you get. Amazing, soft, incredible, super absorbent towels. Not scratchy, not lotiony. Tons of different colors to choose from. And you get 2 bath towels, 2 hand towels, and 2 washcloths. Tons of colors and sizes. They are incredible. Machine washable. Now's your chance to take advantage of this super huge deal, plus deep discounts on everything. So limited time, 6-piece towel set, regularly $109.99, yours for $39.99. Promo code Benson. Visit mypillow.com/Benson or call 800-983-4975. 800-983-4975. Take advantage of this, the mattress topper, the Giza Dream Sheets, and everything else. Deep discounts. mypillow.com/Benson or call 800-983-4975. Use that promo code Benson. Chad Benson Show.
I usually don't get into politics. As an ordinary suburban housewife, I feel a little disrespected. I teach my children not to name call.
You are a blabbermouth!
Come on, man. Guys, can we please keep the chatter to a minimum?
Chad Benson.
So, who likes America? Who likes us, right? Because we're also the big, bad, evil Americans. Everybody hates us. You guys are pompous ass. Traveling and spending time in Europe, trust me, I heard a ton of it. Everybody, they tolerate us. there's jealousy, there's disdain, but then in places there's true love and affection. So, which countries like us the most and the least? By the way, we do not have a favorable rating in North Korea, Afghanistan, Iran, or Russia, Iraq, China, Palestine, Saudi Arabia, Cuba, because all the Cubans who do like us are here, and the ones who said 40% of them say we like Americans, they're no longer with us. Ukraine, 62% of people have a favorable rating. I have a feeling if we ask that today, it'd probably be a little higher. Mexico, 63%. Egypt, 64%. Israel, 71%. India, 77%. Germany, 78%. Now let's get to the top four. 82% of people in Japan have a favorable rating to us Americans. France, 84%. People always say French, they don't like anybody, by the way, just to let you know. If you go over there, you will find not only do they not like anybody, they don't like each other. In Paris is a lot like a lot of other big cities where people are hustling and bustling. If you go to New York in a certain place, you take too long to order, people rip you a new one. It's kind of like that. You get out into other parts of France, they're a lot more friendly. Great Britain, 86% of people in Great Britain enjoy our company. Because we look at each other and we see eye to eye here, right? Like you're kind of, you're a 51st state kind of thing. That's kind of what we look at there. You're us, we are you scenario. And then Canada, 87% of people in Canada like us. I can't believe it's so low in North Korea. Those are probably the only 10 people have ever even heard of America. Because, he invented the burrito and probably America. Changes in Americans' views on foreign countries. Most favorable. Afghanistan, 21% last year, now 12%. Russia, down to 15%. Germany, down to 78%. Canada, down to 87%. Great Britain, down to 86%. Cuba, down to 40%. And Iraq, down to 16%. Those were the biggest change in countries we don't have a favorable look on. Things have changed. Afghanistan, obviously, we know why. Russia, come on now. Germany, I think we're looking around going, you guys should have been stronger. Canada, what are you guys doing? Saying if you honk your horn twice, that's Heil Hitler with the truckers. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Check out the podcast. We're available. It's always fun and just as informative the second time around. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's still going on. It's still getting ugly. And it's going to continue to get uglier in the coming days and weeks, potentially. Tomorrow, Zelensky will address our Congress.
President Zelensky has been meeting with the war wounded. He's going to address Congress on Wednesday. I think expect him to thank President Biden and the American people for all their support and to press them for even more, probably likely to raise this idea of a no-fly zone once more.
Never going to happen. I think we all know that. Can't happen. It cannot happen. I'm going to say this again. Can't happen. And we see this stuff. I mean, all of us see it, and it troubles us, and we're pissed, and we're angry that we're seeing a fledgling and at time half-assed democracy try to get on its feet like a newborn animal, right? Just wobbling, and it's a mess. But starting to show signs of life, starting to show signs of we don't want to live in the Soviet shadow of long gone days. We yearn for something more European, right? We want Vespas and cafes. And as much as we see the bully doing what the bully is doing, the reality is we cannot do anything unless the red line is crossed. And some people want the red line to be chemical weapons. Mike Lyons, who's been on our show numerous times, decorated soldier, military analyst, said, no. That's a no. We can't do it. We did it in Syria because they're fighting a proxy war and Assad doesn't have nuclear weapons. This SOB has nuclear weapons. That's the reality of what this is about. So we choke them off from every way, shape, or form from what would be modern society. The one thing is, you got to think about this. The older generation, there's not a lot in between. There's a lot of 60s, 70s, 80s, and a lot of 20-year-olds. The older generation, a vast majority of them over the 9 time zones, as Anthony and I were talking about earlier, he pointed out, that's 9 time zones. They don't have tons of internet. They're not Facebooking it and gramming it. They are in a position where what they're taking in is the media of which they're consuming, and they've always consumed. A younger generation, which is usually more forward, usually has the energy, they're taking it in ways that are much different. Even still, despite the want to black it out, the reality is, and I think we all know this, you're never going to do that the way that you think you are, because the genie itself is way too big to go back in the bottle, even if the genie wanted to go in the bottle. He's not going to be able to scrub it all. Our red line is NATO. Our red line essentially is if something happens to land, and even at that point, as Mike Lyons pointed out yesterday, he doesn't even trust his quote-unquote smart bombs or cruise missiles to actually do anything that they're supposed to do, so he's willing to risk his pilots flying and shooting things down or shooting at things because his fear is, what if something lands in NATO, a NATO area, Poland, wherever? I mean, that's really what we're talking about. Then you've got an issue. But at this point in time, until something actually falls out of that area in the Ukraine and lands in a NATO country where NATO forces have been attacked and their people have been attacked, we have to do everything we can to supply them with everything they need. Every kind of piece of equipment that they can use to thwart power. And trust us. I mean, again, it's frustrating as hell because we all know, God, how long would this take if we could go in there with some bombers and some jets and destroy these convoys? But we can't. Now the worry, of course, is chemical weapons.
Any use of chemical weapons will be a violation of international law, will be a violation of the ban or the treaty that bans chemical weapons, and Russia has signed to that convention.
Yeah, but they don't care. They don't. He doesn't care. What you need to do now, as I was telling the guys off the air, stop pretending you're going to do something to Putin at this point. I'd start going and charging war crimes to people around him to give him thoughts of thinking. Whoa, what do you mean? What do you mean you're charging me with a crime? Because want Putin to have an off-ramp, right? Doesn't mean that you're actually going to do any of the things. But it's about saying we're coming for all of you. Choose your off-ramp. So over the next 36 hours, there is going to be a curfew in Kyiv, and the fighting is picking up there, and it's bound to get a lot worse. They have already bombed a place today. It looks like an apartment building, maybe a work area, killing 5 civilians. Zelensky and everybody else has come out and, said what you have to say, which is you condemn the hell out of it. And now the thought is, can you hold out? Can we get you enough to hold out? Can we get you enough to turn this into, because the prediction now is he's got 10 days to 2 weeks. If this thing continues to go sideways, they're running out of ammo. They're running out of food. The supplies aren't there. This could turn into a nightmare of nightmares. Plus, they're getting ready to default potentially in $150 billion in debt. It's what you have to do. But you've got to give him some sort of off-ramp. And, you've got the negotiation going. How real are those negotiations? That is I don't know how real they are. I don't. The people we've talked to, Mike Lyons being one of our military analysts, he said, look, Odessa, that's when you worry. If he attacks Odessa and they go in hard, then that they're in to just destroy. Odessa is the last port, and he essentially have left that alone so far because if he could get other things and concessions, maybe there's still an off-ramp for him.
We don't know what the Russians have asked for, but we do know that Zelensky has changed his position a couple times. We know that he's backed off from saying that they want to join NATO. We know that he's said we will stop flirting with the EU. Potentially they would give up the Donbass and Crimea. If all these things come to pass, that's sort of what the Russians agreed to with Georgia in 2008. Whether it's enough for Putin now is another question.
Will it be enough? I don't know. And then he's got his own problems at home. Yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw this, a brave woman who has since not been heard from and probably never will be, decided to protest on state television. And wow, in English and in Russian, her sign was.
In Russia, despite the clampdown on dissent, some are resisting. This young woman interrupts a state TV broadcast with a sign saying, "Stop the war. Don't believe propaganda. They're lying to you." The broadcaster cutting the feed, and like other protesters, the woman now arrested.
Yeah, and her lawyer says, hasn't been heard of, don't know anything. And it was interesting, too, because that stone-faced Russian lady was reading the news, never broke a sweat, never moved, showed zero feelings about anything, while this lady's in the back of her inside. So imagine watching, like, the nightly news, right, or one of those things, right? And, there's David Muir, and he's giving his thing, and somebody's behind him inside the studio with a sign saying, "No war!" And they were firing bullets over protesters' heads. And, just throwing it out there, it's the Ides of March. So let's not forget that today. Just saying, Brutus, Long Highness. Just saying. But then Anthony brought up something great, which is, who's behind him? That's a good question. Because you never know who's behind you, right? You never know the person behind you that you think, hey, because let's not forget that this guy here was America's guy. Like, Yeltsin's a drunk. We don't need this cat. Who's this guy over here? He looks okay. Think we can deal with him. So you never know. The person behind may be worse. But at this point, I would find that hard to believe, especially because the person behind, you would have to think, would be coming at it from a point of view where they are trying to repair the world and Russia's image towards one another and get them on solid footing. But you never know. Maybe the person behind him, if something was to happen, is far more of an isolationist, far more of a Soviet lover. It would be more apt to try to lock it up than set it free. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Odors are everywhere. You know that. I know that. told you yesterday, my father-in-law passed. We decided we're going to sell our house. So we're going to take over the other house. And he smoked in it. And you could tell. You can't tell anymore, thanks to my buddies over at Eden. And it is incredible. It really is. So Eden Pure Thunderstorm Air Purifier, right? What it does is you plug it in. There's no, you have to worry about filters or anything like that. It's got Oxy technology. It quickly destroys viruses, odors, mold, everything. And it is amazing. Over 150,000 have been sold. And did I mention, plug it in, no filters, super silent, and it smells a bit like a thunderstorm. Within minutes, you could tell something had changed. We have no smells anymore. There is none of that. It is awesome. Right now, save $200 on the Eden Pure Oxy Leaf 2 Thunderstorm. You can get 3 units, and this is how you do it. Use code CHAD3, C-H-A-D 3. Okay? So you save $200, and now I want you to do full amazing coverage of your house. 3 of these things. 1, 2, 3. Plug them in the walls. Boom. Turn them on. You don't hear them, but you will smell the difference. And you absolutely will. You can even do it in your car. So go to EdenPureDeals.com. Put in discount code CHAD3 to save $200. That's EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code CHAD3. Shipping is free. EdenPureDeals.com. CHAD3 saves you $200 right there. Chad Benson Show.
Hashtag me too. Hashtag immigration reforms. Hashtag help. I'm trapped in a hashtag factory and I can't get out. The Chad Benson Show.
That's right. Tom Brady is back, and once again, he made history as the first person to ever move to Florida and unretire. Basically, Brady saw gas prices and said, back to work. Here we go.
No, I'm telling you, he's addicted to competition. That's what he is. He's addicted to competition. The path he is going to take after football is not the path of going into the booth. He'd be bored with that. Talking X's and O's. He'd be bored with that. He would. He wants to be a Titan, right? He wants to do what like Kobe was doing, right? He wants to produce stuff. He wants to go out and make things. He wants to, own a team. He doesn't want to talk about, well, I think what he would do here is this, that. That's not his gig. The guy's addicted. Have you ever watched any of those made for TV golf things where it's I think the last one, it was Brooks and what was it? I think it was Phil Mickelson and him, and then I forgot who the other guy was, but and Aaron Rodgers. And Brady is, you can tell the addiction he has to competition. I think he was sitting at home. And his wife's going, he's miserable, right? Because he hadn't planned on it. He made an emotional decision. And you can't, right? And people tell you all the time, this is how it works, right? You hate it in March. You're like, I don't know if I want to play again, if my body can do it. By April, you're like, no, I'm pretty much sure I'm done. By May, you're like, I'm feeling really good. By June, you're like, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. And then you go back through the thing again. That's the way it's kind of always worked. Plus, he was sitting around going, she's doing like a book club, and she's making, her and her friends are doing yoga, and there's Gwyneth Paltrow's over here, and she's, oh my God, conscious uncoupling. These damn kids. Sure they're mine? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Tweet at us. Zelensky is addressing the Canadians today. So funny. I look over and I look out and I see, I was telling producer Phil and Anthony earlier, they showed shots of Kiev because later on there's going to be a 36-hour curfew, essentially keeping everybody inside because they have a feeling that the siege is coming and it's going to get worse and really ramp up in the next, 36 to 48 hours. And I see people out shopping, right? And all of all this stuff, and nobody's in a mask. And they go to the Canadian Parliament, and everybody's in a mask. Everybody. Oh, and then he gets up there, Trudeau, who's just an absolute douche canoe. And I said it, and I mean it. And he's all, you are protecting liberty and freedoms and da-da-da-da. And I'm thinking, like a month ago, you were seizing people's bank accounts because you thought they were involved in some insurgency because of your vaccine mandates. Think about that. Think about what Zelensky's going through comparatively to the guy over here he's just made for TV douchery. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. But Chad, the coronavirus. Yeah, and the CDC, the FDA, Pfizer's like, oh, well, we should probably get a fourth because of, waning immunity. Most people I know that are even very much pro-vaccine are like, yeah, I'm going to wait on this one because I feel like the waning immunity has more to do with your bank account. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
If I had to have a person translate, do you think they would pick somebody cool? Like, hey, who do you gonna have translating? I want somebody cool. Because the person they always have, it's like they seem terrified. They do. They seem terrified. Give me a Batman guy. Yeah, Batman. Let me tell you guys here, because tomorrow he's talking to us, and today he's talking to the Canadian, Zelensky. We're to tell you guys now, we're not going anywhere. We're to fight. It's balls to the wall. It's like, I don't think that's what he said. I know, but we got a speech, and I'm roughly interpreting it for him with a little oomph on it. Why is he talking to Canada? What are you guys going to do? And he just said, our cities are not safe like Edmonton and Winnipeg. Like, Edmonton and Winnipeg are safe because, well, you're our top hat. There you go. Congratulations. Oh, man. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. It's getting ugly. I was looking at this yesterday, and, like, Kanye, it's always a bit out there, right? Like, we all know that. He's a bit of a whatever. Tortured genius. Mass marketer. Not always there. But he is, still trying to claim that Kim is his wife, which she's not. And he released this the other day, which was weird, about what's going on. And it got even uglier, as we joke about Pete's going to space. And if I'm Pete, I'm like, I'm going to wait till this cools over before I decide to get on anything that might blow up.
God, please. The boyfriend texts me, antagonizing me, bragging about being in bed with my wife. I thought it publicly for a year and a half. I've been dragged, and how she's not my wife. She don't have her last name. And now he texting me, talking and bragging about how he's in bed with my wife. And I'm like, well, who's watching my children if he's texting me, bragging about being in bed with my wife? God, I just need to protect you protect the children. I know our nannies, some of them are Christian. You touch them, please, God, today, and have them bring my children to Sunday service this morning. The devil ain't gonna win.
I was like, whoa. Some of them? How many nannies do you have? You have like 2 kids. So it got even uglier because they were texting back and forth. And then Pete, who released some of these things, it was bizarre. Pete says, hey, happy to see you out of hospital rehab. Same here. It's a wonder, those places you do when you get there. You should try it. In LA for the day, if you want to stop being a little internet biatch boy and talk. Yo, it's Skeet, right? Joking. Can you please take a second and calm down? It's 8 a.m. and it don't got to be like this. Kim is literally the best mother I've ever met. What she's done for those kids is amazing, and you're so blank and lucky that she's your kid's mom. I've decided I'm not going to let you treat us this way anymore, and I'm done being quiet. Grow the blank up. And then he writes, Kanye is like, oh, you use profanity. Where are you right now, question mark. And then he takes a picture and goes, in bed with your wife. Did not help, by the way. It's getting ugly. With kids, man, I'm telling you. It gets that way. But if I'm Pete, before I get on the Phallic 5000, which is Bezos' thing next week, I maybe think about it. He kept trying to meet with Kanye. Come on, my offer stands. Let's meet up. Let me help you, man. I struggle with mental health stuff too. It's not easy. You don't have to feel this way. It's nuts. It's crazy. Like, right. And the thing is, it's going on in public. Your kids are going to grow up knowing that your mom dated Pete Davidson. That's one thing. Secondly, your dad's already Kanye. And third, this insanity is filmed and on television, right? Your aunt's getting married to Travis Barker. They're trying to have a baby. Your other aunt, well, you know, her. Your life's in the public eye, and it's great that you have all this money, but, you know, there is no grounding in that family. Nobody's being grounded as far as in life. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. What would happen? It's a question we ask everybody. If, on accident, something landed in a NATO country. That's a tough thing. That is. One of the things they've talked about is, you know, that you would think that the Russians would get out and say, that was a mistake. That was not meant for you guys. How much will people believe that? The Chinese, I bet, would get involved rather quickly because China, as much as they want to see us fight each other, they don't want to see it escalate to the point where the sanctions start to hit them and then their economy starts to struggle. Earlier today, China and Saudi Arabia have sped up conversations about accepting the yuan, their dollar essentially, their currency, China, instead of the dollar anymore. The dollar has been the thing since 1974, which would be a huge battle. Part of it is this administration, they don't want anything to do with Saudi Arabia, right? He called them a pariah. They want help with Yemen. We won't help them. We've made promises to the kingdom way back when, of which they say you're not living up to it. And then you're talking to Iran about revising the nuclear deal, and we all know that they're not pals. And most importantly, the absolute nightmare of withdrawal from Afghanistan also pisses the Saudis off. People are like, why would that piss them off? Understand that while Saudi Arabia, who executed 81 people over the weekend in heinous ways, they hung some people in the square after they had beheaded them with their head in a bag next to their body as it hung. What they did to Khashoggi was awful. And unfortunately, in a world of awful, we have to deal with awful. And it sucks. It does. But Saudi Arabia's fear about Iran and Afghanistan and Yemen is eventually that stuff spills over to their nation and it becomes hell on earth. That's their fear. And they're looking over and going, this administration's done nothing for us. They haven't. They won't talk to us. They won't do anything. If this was to happen, that would be a dent in the dollar's dominance of not only the marketplace, but China. It's another situation where China is once again trying to flex their might. But I would remind Saudi Arabia, again, understand what you're dealing with. Understand who you're getting in bed with. But it also goes to show you why we need to be more focused on not being energy independent, which we are, but being oil independent. Yeah, we got natural gas and coal. When you put together with the oil that we produce, our energies, we're pretty much independent as it gets, except for the part where oil independence is huge. It's massive. And we need to figure out how we go about getting there. And this is where a leader would look at the people on the green side of the aisle and say, here's the deal, kids. We're going to talk like grown-ups. You want to talk about electric cars? Fantastic. You hear stuff like this?
The future of transportation is electric.
We need to make sure that it becomes relatively more attractive to have an electric vehicle instead of a gas
You
vehicle.
want gas prices to go up and oil prices to
You
go up.
need it
and
to
coal prices
reflect
go
the
up.
true cost of carbon.
No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore, period. And
if you drive an electric car, this would not be affecting you, clearly.
Perhaps if you let the market work, people will feel pain. They'll take a second look at that Ford F-450 gigantoid truck. They'll reconsider a Tesla.
Hell, I'll pay $15 a gallon because I drive a Tesla.
I have a Chevy Bolt and I lease solar panels, so I drive on Sunshine Girl.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Yeah. Hey, just out of curiosity, let's just say we all got magically overnight electric cars and we plugged all of our cars in. What'd that do to the electric grid? Oh, God. Yeah. Think about that for a second. California, this is a place where if it gets over 80 degrees and there's some sunshine, a little bit of wind, you could get a rolling brownout. Enjoy that. We need to be energy independent. You look at these people and say, look, guys, it makes up 2 to 3% of the vehicles in this country. So we could go back to the dark ages, or we can drill responsibly. We can get ahead of this thing. We can no longer be in a situation that's tenable with us dealing with these evil people who hate us, and we continue to hand them money because it's not good for us. But we can't be in a situation where, guess what? We're the exporter. We hold more of the cards, and we can move away from some of these fossil fuels in a manner that actually works by drilling responsible. Or you can go, well, I don't care that my coffee costs $6 because you live at home with your mom and dad. But then you find out you're unemployed now because people aren't coming to the place you work to buy your stuff because, well, it's too expensive. So here's our choice. Choice A, we give in, we listen to you, and we hope and pray that we can get lightning catchers for electricity and unicorn fart cars. Or we drill responsibly, and over the next several years, we get far more into being energy independent, which includes oil, not just, quote unquote, making up the difference elsewhere. It's a smart thing to do. And we do it responsibly. Sorry if it hurts your feelings. But that's what we're going to do. But instead, we'll be like, oh, I'm glad it's $28 a gallon. I can't believe nobody's buying my stuff. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, Calibrate, losing weight with Calibrate. How do you do it? Simple and easy. Calibrate has FDA-approved medication along with video doctor visits, one-on-one coaching, and this is great, small lifestyle changes. That's it. They're not asking you to go, hey, all you can eat is like 3 calories today, and tomorrow you can eat 12 calories. Next day you have to eat 0 calories, and you can only have water and celery. No, what it is making sustainable lifestyle changes with FDA-approved medication. On average, Calibrate's earliest members have lost well over 15% of their body weight, heading into 20, 30, 40% of their body weight. That can be you. And it's all about resetting your metabolism. Metabolism gets to a certain place when you start to lose weight. It starts to panic and think, uh-oh, we're starving. And so it stops, essentially. Then you get frustrated. That's not going to happen with this. It's going to reset it, and away you're going to go. Simple, easy, fits in anybody's schedule. Now's your chance to save $50 off. Go to joincalibrate.com. Use code CHAD. Joincalibrate.com. $50 off for 1 year metabolic reset. Right now. Take advantage of it. Joincalibrate.com. Use code CHAD. Chad Benson Show.
Wanna be, boys? Give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers. One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
It's been a couple weeks since I transformed into a Ukraine guy, and gotta say that I'm loving my new personality. Will you guys denounce Russia? Oh, you're still telling people to stay at home and get vaccinated? Oh, no, it's cool. I mean, yeah, whatever works for you, dude. Ukraine for life. Well, you know what I mean, for a couple weeks till we get the next one. I was a big Palestine guy. I was a big Afghanistan guy. What's going on there now? Yeah, actually, pretty good question. I haven't really checked in on it. Are they still doing the whole being a country thing? Oh, look, it's Putin's home. You either want America to get in there and start mucking things up, or you love Putin and want to marry him and have sex with him. I'm a pretty binary thinker. I'm non-binary in everything else, though.
It's Ryan Long, he's a comedian, making fun of the identity. Oh, you're still staying at home, telling everybody to mask up? Yeah, that's still going on. That's still going on in places. California is still making nightmares, still making kids mask up in certain areas because science!
In classrooms here, it's now a mix. Some students and staff are wearing masks while others aren't. California now strongly recommending masks in classrooms, but it's no longer requiring them at the state level. Some parents, like Brian Bundy, say they're leaving it up to their children to decide what they want to do.
I like my son, to take charge. I think it's important for young kids in this world to take initiative and be strong and firm on what they say and what they believe in.
But some big school districts like Oakland and L.A. are not yet allowing masks to come off.
Science! That's their identity. I am overly cautious about everything. That's my identity. What's yours? I'm a dad and a husband, and I show up and I do my job, and that's kind of like who I am. It's not none of those things are my identity. So insane. It is. China's having an outbreak of corona, which is a good thing for oil, by the way, because where the outbreak is, they're locking down 50 million plus people in places where they would consume a vast amount of oil, therefore making imports not as necessary at this moment. Doesn't mean we're going to feel it today, but we're going to, at least I would say next week. I wouldn't be surprised if gas prices stay, may go up a little bit here, but may come down a little bit over the next few days. What goes on from here? Because remember, it's a lagging indicator. We'll see. And China's denying that Russia asked them for help, which we all know they did because we heard the phone call. That being said, China is trying to walk a fine line of pissing us off while not angering us so much as to put sanctions on, and also looking around going, okay, you are 150 billion, maybe 200 billion at best of trade. The EU and America's 1.3, 1.4 trillion. I better listen kinda to them.
China has an obligation as a member of the UN Security Council to actually support and uphold international law, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine is a blatant violation.
Yeah, Jens Stoltenberg, who is the head of old NATO over there. By the way, they are also apparently telling their banks, look, they've put this in, so we'll try to figure a way around it, but at this point in time, follow whatever the Americans are saying to do, which I'm sure is angering them because they enjoy the fact that we're at each other. Isn't it great, though, that they're part of the UN Security Council? Who heads that council right now? Oh, yeah, Russia does. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Solid fun day. We'll do it again tomorrow. You have a brilliant, amazing rest of your Tuesday. Go get yourself some tacos. Night, night, Jack.
Chad Benson Show.